The following audiobook summary will definitely have spoilers. If at all you don't prefer spoilers or need a complete experience, I suggest getting a copy of the original book. I have tried to cover maximum sequences and not to miss any important information, but nothing compares to the original work. And not to mention, I have a dialect influence since I am not a native speaker of English. Please avoid hate comments. We are open to constructive criticisms and healthy discussions. The story is about a young girl. Early on a Sunday morning in Clonegel, our girl and her father has just left Mass. But instead of going home, they drive deeper into Wexford, into her mother's country, a place of weeping willows and whispering hedgerows. Her father says little, his rough hands steady on the wheel, the sharp scent of his cigarette filling the air. She lies in the back seat, her hair unraveling from tight plaits, and wonders about the Kinsellas, the strangers who will take her in. Will they be kind? Will they put her to work? Her imagination runs wild, painting them in broad strokes. A tall woman with warm pancakes, a man with 50 pence tricks and stories of the land. But beneath her curiosity, there is unease. This is a place of change, and change rarely feels safe. When they arrive, the house stands long and white, shadowed by willows that seem to weep into the earth. A great hound, lazy but watchful, greets them with a bark. Then a man steps out, John Kinsella, square-built, silver-haired, and unlike anyone from her mother's people. His voice is gentle but carries the weight of the land, and in it the unspoken language of men. Rain, cattle, prices, the things that matter but are never truly said. Then comes Edna Kinsella, taller than her mother with dark hair cut short, and a face marked by both strength and softness. She sees the girl, and in an instant there is a warmth, a wiping of a smudge from her cheek, a quick kiss that leaves the girl's face hot with something unfamiliar, care given freely. Inside the house, the air is warm with the scent of baking, and everything is clean, cleaner than anything she has known. Under Edna's steady gaze, the girl feels her thin dress and dusty sandals like a layer of her old life, worn, tired, and threadbare. But here, there are no questions, only kindness. They sit together, her father, the Kinsellas, and her. And as the adults speak in their language of crops and cows, the girl watches her father lie about their hay, painting their hard life with a brush of false pride. He fills his plate, fills his belly, and then, with barely a glance, he is gone. No goodbye, no promise of return. Just the engine, the crunch of gravel, and then silence. The girl's heart tightens. Has he left her for good? But Edna and John are there. No scolding, no blame, only assurance that they will keep her gladly. And so begins her life with the Kinsellas, in a place where there are no secrets and no shame. That first evening, Edna scrubs the road from her skin in a bath deeper and hotter than she has ever known. She stands still under Edna's hands, hands like a mother's but carrying something new, gentleness, patience. In borrowed clothes, too large but made to fit, the girl begins to shed something invisible, a layer of the old life that no longer belongs to her. Later, Edna takes her to the well. The walk is slow through silver-bent fields where cows graze and butterflies skim the wild chamomile. At a small iron gate, stone steps lead down to the well, its dark surface still as glass. The girl, her curiosity blooming, lifts the ladle and tastes the cold, clear water, earthy and pure. Edna stands behind her, steady but letting her reach. They return hand in hand, and the girl senses a balance, holding Edna's weight as if without her the woman might tip. She wonders if alone Edna must carry 2 buckets. That night, as she drifts to sleep, she hears Edna whisper, "God help you, child. If you were mine, I would never leave you with strangers." The days that follow are simple, yet unlike anything she has lived. There are fields and wells, buckets and cows, bread to bake and floors to sweep. John watches her run, measuring her steps with warmth and humor. Edna teaches her the work of the house, not as a chore, but as a rhythm, a heartbeat of living. The girl, always watchful, finds herself easing into their days, into their ways. In their care, she changes, not suddenly, but in a slow, steady bloom. The air around her feels clean, the food richer, the sleep deeper. There are no sharp voices, no hurried hands, no weight of not being wanted. At night, Edna brushes her hair 100 strokes and feeds her dry Weetabix, calling it her secret to clean skin. They laugh, they live, and in the warmth of the Kinsella home, something fragile and precious awakens in the girl, a feeling that she belongs. The summer stretches long, each day a quiet unfolding of joy and care. But under it all, a question lingers. How long can such a summer last? The days at the Kinsella's house have softened into a rhythm, simple, steady, and safe. But change, as always, arrives unannounced. It starts with a glance. John Kinsella's eyes on the girl, considering her as if something important has been left undone. He decides tomorrow is Sunday and she must have something of her own to wear. Not borrowed, not second-hand, something hers. Edna's voice is steady, but the girl sees it. The slow pause, the sadness behind her eyes. And when Edna leaves the kitchen to compose herself, the girl understands that this is more than clothes. It's care. Care that runs so deep it has nowhere to go but through tears. In town, the world is bright and bustling. Nets of beach balls sway in the sun. The scent of sweets and fish and fresh bread lingers. Kinsella, with his soft heart, presses a pound note into the girl's palm. For a chalk ice, he says, though it is enough for a feast. In the drapers, Edna buys her dresses, blouses, trousers, things that fit not just her body but her life now. And when the shop assistant remarks how the girl is the pet of her mammy, something in her twists, a tether to the life behind her, even as she is woven into this new one. But shadows gather where warmth lingers. In town, Mildred appears, sharp-eyed, sharp-tongued. She stares too long and pries too deep. She speaks with a pity that wounds more than comforts. There is something barbed in her words, a reminder of loss, of what once was and will never be. Edna, always composed, stiffens. The encounter is brief, but it cuts. Because there is a truth the girl doesn't yet know, a grief the Kinsellas carry. The day turns darker still. Death has come to a neighbor's door and Kinsella is called to help. But death, the great uninvited guest, will not be avoided. It finds them at the wake in the still house filled with stout and sandwiches and sorrow. The old man lies quiet in his box, and the living gather to remember, to laugh, to drink. The girl, balanced on Kinsella's knee, sips red lemonade and stares at the corpse waiting, wondering if those eyes might flutter open. But the true reckoning waits outside the door in the shape of Mildred, the gossip hound. Edna, reluctant, lets the girl leave with her, just for a while, a mistake. Because Mildred has a hunger for what's behind curtains and under lids. She questions, prods, and finally, without warning, tears the veil from the girl's world. You didn't know, did you? Mildred says, her voice slick with satisfaction. That room you sleep in, that was their boy's room. The clothes on your back, they were his. He followed their old hound one day into the slurry tank and gone. And then a whisper of something worse. How grief has turned the Kinsella's hair white overnight. How Edna's blackness is born not from nature but from a bottle. The words are a cold wind through the girl's chest. She had known comfort here, known love, but now she knows loss too. She walks beside Mildred, weighed down by the clothes on her skin, heavy with the ghost of the boy she never met but has somehow replaced. When Kinsella comes to collect her, the look in his eyes tells her he knows what she has heard. But in his voice there is no anger, only sorrow and something gentler still. That night, he scuffs her new shoes, softening their edges because he knows what it means to walk in hard shoes. And then, in the moonlight, he takes her hand and they walk to the strand, where the world ends and the sea begins. There, under the endless sky, he lets her run, to chase the waves, to shriek, to breathe. He carries her into the water, holding her high and telling her not to be afraid. And later, when the waves fall back and all is quiet, he speaks, not of the boy, not of the past, but of Edna's heart. She trusts, he says, because she wants to see the good, and sometimes she's hurt for it. But that's her way. And in the silence that follows, he gives her something more precious than answers. He gives her the freedom not to speak. You don't ever have to say anything, he tells her. There are times when silence is worth more than words. But the summer is ending, and endings always brings the inevitable. The letter comes. Her mother has had the baby, a boy, and with that the clock runs out. School is starting, she must return. The girl sees it in Edna's face, hears it in Kinsella's voice, and though her heart feels heavy, it is also steady. She has grown in ways no one can see but she can feel. And in that knowing, she chooses her own goodbye. Not on the weekend, but now. She will end this summer on her terms. But before she goes, there is one last thing she must do. She takes the bucket and walks to the well alone. The path is muddier than before, the water higher. She listens to her breath just as she did on her first evening with Edna. But as she bends to fill the bucket, something happens. A slip, a pull, water cold and sudden, swallowing her whole. And for a breathless, terrifying moment, she is gone. When she returns soaked, trembling, Edna's face is pale with fear. The bed is made warm again, the girl tucked in, but the closeness of disaster lingers. In the days that follow, she lies still, recovering, and the house is filled with Edna's soft fussing and Kinsella's watchful eyes. They are afraid, because they know how easily the world can take what it has given. But Sunday comes, and with it the end. The car ride home is too short, the silence too loud. When they reach her house, her sisters are waiting, her mother watching from the window, a new child in her arms. The air inside is damp and cold. Her mother, worn, busy, greets her with a tired, familiar sharpness. Her father, unbothered, half drunk, enters late with careless words. The girl, changed as she is, says nothing. She watches, listens, and holds tight to everything she has learned in that house by the sea. The house with no secrets, where kindness spoke louder than words. But when the Kinsellas leave, her heart makes its choice. She bolts, feet flying down the gravel lane, the grass a blur beneath her. She finds him at the gate, ready to go, and without a thought, without hesitation, she crashes into him. Kinsella catches her, lifts her, holds her, and in that fierce, desperate embrace, the girl says everything she cannot say with words. She clings to him because he has been more than a man. He has been a father. And as she clings, she sees her real father coming, steady, inevitable, but distant. And between the man who made her and the man who raised her, she knows the difference. One holds her now, and the other never has. And as the summer's last breath slips through the trees, the girl keeps her eyes open, because some goodbyes are too important to miss. She holds on, and through her silence, she speaks the only truth that matters. Daddy, she kept calling him. She kept warning him. And he knows.